What if all the chaos we're seeing in the world right now isn't an ending, but a beginning? Well, today we're diving into a channeled message from a source called Ground Crew 01 that presents exactly that idea. It calls this moment the Great Awakening, and we're going to break down exactly what that means, starting with its core message. Right off the bat, the message hits us with this powerful reframe. It says that all the global upheaval we're going through isn't something to be afraid of. Instead, it's a necessary clearing. Think of it like a huge thunderstorm that finally clears the air. This one idea really sets the tone for everything else.
So, who's behind this message? The text introduces us to a being named Valar, who's speaking for a group called the Pleiadian Emissaries of Light. And what's interesting is how it's framed. This isn't some distant, cold announcement. It's meant to feel like a close, personal connection, almost like getting a letter from family you didn't know you had.
And this really gets to the heart of the message. The idea here is that we aren't separate from these beings at all. We're described as one big cosmic family, all sharing the same divine spark. We're all brilliant sparks from the same infinite source, just having different experiences. Some of us in human form, some not.
Okay, so now we get into the central conflict. The source frames what's happening in the world right now as the final gambit, what it calls a last-ditch, desperate move by forces of control. To really get what they're talking about, we have to look at the terms they use. The source uses the word cabal to describe what it calls hidden shadow controllers, groups that have supposedly been pulling the strings for generations. So we're just presenting this definition from the text to give context for what's coming next.
And that leads to the million-dollar question posed by the source. What is this final move? What does the last, desperate plan of this so-called cabal actually look like?
And here's the plan, laid out in detail according to the text. It's a push for a single, global system of digital control. Just imagine one digital profile that links literally everything. Your money, your health records, your ability to travel, even a social trust score that could decide whether you get access to basic resources.
But here's the twist. This is the central paradox in the message. The source claims that this huge plan for total control is actually backfiring. Instead of making everyone fall in line, it's triggering this massive collective wake-up call, a huge surge in the desire for freedom. And that brings us to what the text calls the Great Backfire. This is the big turning point in the whole story, the moment where the trap that was set for humanity becomes the very thing that sets it free. So, how does this backfire actually work? Well, the source breaks it down into this simple three-step chain reaction. First, the control agenda gets pushed out into the open. Second, this very act shakes people out of their complacency. And the final results? The whole plan blows up in their face, acting like a huge accelerator for a global awakening.
And get this, the message says this isn't an accident. It's all part of a deliberate cosmic chess game. It suggests that benevolent forces, sometimes called the Light Alliance or White Hats, have seen every move coming. They've actually allowed this plan to roll out precisely so it could be exposed to the entire world. So the result of this whole strategy? By pushing way too far, the cabal's agenda becomes totally obvious. The source uses this metaphor of a global theater, saying that all their hidden plans are now being put on the world stage for everyone to see.
All right, so what does this all do to our consciousness? This next part, awakening from the illusion, is all about what happens when people start, seeing beyond the stage.
The source uses this really powerful metaphor here. It describes the control system not as some fortress of steel, but as a house of sand. It argues that its only real strength comes from our not being aware of it. The moment we wake up and see it for what it is, the whole thing just starts to crumble.
And this slide just breaks down the core conflict perfectly. On one side, you have the illusion of control, which the text says is built on fear, division, and lies. And on the other side, you have the reality of freedom, which is based in love and unity, something you claim from the inside, not something anyone can give you. So back to that theater idea. The source says that humanity, the audience, is finally waking up during the final act. We're not just passive spectators anymore. People are starting to see the props, the scripts, and the strings behind this long-running show of domination. So just how big is this awakening? Well, according to the source, it's massive. It makes the pretty bold claim that as the illusion shatters, millions of people can wake up to this new reality almost overnight. It's described as this unstoppable, cascading domino effect.
And you know what? This whole cosmic story really boils down to one single point: your individual choice. The message is emphatic that this isn't some movie we just watched. It's about the personal choice each and every one of us has in anchoring this new reality. This chart lays out that choice perfectly. Where are you going to put your energy? Are you going to pour it into fighting the shadows, which the source says is totally draining? Or are you going to pull your energy from that fight and instead use it to nurture and build the reality you want to see? The text argues the second path is the only one that's truly empowering. And this next part, this might just be the most radical idea in the whole message. It suggests the most powerful way to change the system isn't to fight it head on, but to cultivate your own inner peace. That finding your own calm center is itself a revolutionary act that pulls the rug out from under an illusion built on fear and chaos. The source really drives this home by reminding you that your true self, your consciousness, your soul, can't be captured by any system. It's described as a vast multidimensional light that is, by its very nature, untrackable, uncontainable, and forever free, no matter what's happening on the outside. So where's this all supposed to be headed? This timeline kind of lays out the whole path. Right now, we're in the final test. This leads us to a choice: fear or faith. The result, according to the source, is a complete planetary reset. And the future this all leads to: a renaissance for Earth, a new golden age. And that brings everything full circle, right back to this one central question that the source poses to every single person. When you're faced with all this global drama, what's your choice going to be? Fear or freedom? But the entire message concludes on this one final, definitive statement. It acknowledges all the chaos of the moment, but it ends with this message of absolute certainty: that a future of full disclosure and freedom isn't just a possibility, it's assured.